The whole world shares the bounty of the skies, the rain and clouds that grace the earth beneath. The moon was never meant to be a foreign realm. Mathematics is the foundation of all things. If you're interested, I can teach you some arithmetic. First, hold out both your hands. We'll start with the 10 fingers. The Adeptus arts are most miraculous, but unless one first cultivates the mind before cultivating these arts, all their feats will be like the moon's reflection on water, shattering at the slightest touch. My name is Zibai. I was once known to mortals as the White Horse Adeptus, but now that I have descended to the mortal plane, you may simply call me Zibai. The moon is barely visible. Hark! The thunderous wrath of heaven! At least it's not as cold as on the moon. Journeying through the desert is as arduous as one might imagine. Good morning. Did you sleep well last night? The sun is now at its peak. If you are tired, you should take a rest. The moon creeps silently into the sky, until all of a sudden, we notice it shining down from the heavens. Are you trying to stay up longer than the moon? You should go to sleep now. Good night. After I severed my 3 deadly selves, my third self wandered the mortal realm and experienced many things. The most well-known of these are recorded in the book Moonlit Bamboo Forest, which recounts my nighttime wanderings. Perhaps I should visit the bamboo forest for myself when I have the time. When I lived alone, I would often resort to mathematics to pass the time, devising and solving arithmetic puzzles. If you are interested, I can take you through some of the more amusing ones. When the people of Liyue write poems about homesickness, they often express their feelings by waxing lyrical about the moon. This makes abundant sense, as no matter how far apart we may be, everyone in the world shares the same moonlight. And yet, to truly appreciate the experience of gazing at the moon, surely the traveler would prefer to return home and share it with their friends and family. For as the saying goes, the moon always shines brightest back home. You mentioned before that you do not hail from this world, and that you were separated from kin. Yet despite the great hardships and dangers you have faced in this foreign land, you have fought on most courageously, displaying a rare degree of fortitude. Heaven does not forsake those who strive on. I am confident that you will achieve what you hope for. I do not say this as mere consolation either. The people of Liyue often wish upon the moon for family reunions, and as a longtime resident of the lunar plane, surely my blessing counts for more than most. Once divine power is obtained, one may wield it as they will. As for me, since I now dwell in Liyue, protecting this land naturally comes first. My third deadly self, counted among the 8 adepts, was named the Gold-Eyed Celadon Mare. But in fact, she, had very little to do with the other adepts outside of the Taudo incident. She spent most of her time roaming elsewhere. According to my later memories, several other members of the 8 adepts attempted to track her down, but 4 legs will always outrun 2. I don't believe they ever did catch up with that horse. I am amazed that the glaze lily survives to this day. I still remember how the Yunlai angler and the Wuwang kid enjoyed pairing the petals with a glass of wine. Then a few drinks later, they'd start doing a sword routine to add to the fun. Was some mysterious sword style born in the process? It's possible. All too often, however, they got too drunk to remember anything after the fact. Though mortals call me the White Horse Adeptus, I was not bestowed with this title by Morax, the Prime of Adepti. I joined the celestial ranks very long ago, in ancient times where I served as a moon envoy. But what is past is settled, and there is no need to dwell on it. Here in the present, people seem accustomed to calling me the White Horse Adeptus, and that is fine by me. Do I ever see Zhongli around, you ask? Why, yes. I occasionally see him walking the streets with Director Hu or enjoying a cup of tea on his own. I must say, his life as a consultant seems far more pleasant and relaxed than his life as Rex Lapis. I understand that the Liyue of today is built on trade and commerce, a highly involved and complex affair. For the Tianquan to shoulder the enormous responsibility of ruling Liyue, she must be a truly exceptional person. But I have heard that there are a total of 7 Qixing within the Ministry of Civil Affairs, and I have only met a handful of them. I wonder where the others are. I suppose they must be busy elsewhere with their duties. I ran into the Yuheng once on the outskirts of Liyue. She was there with a team from the Ministry of Civil Affairs to conduct some land measurements. The terrain was inhospitable, mountainous, with sheer cliff faces. But there she was, leading from the front. I happened to notice her and was about to clear some overgrown brambles from her path when, to my surprise, she drew her sword and swiftly cleared the path ahead by herself. I had heard that she had a reputation for being a bold and unstoppable commander, and I must say she certainly lives up to it. Chi-Chi is an odd case. A little girl with the body of an adeptus, but not the soul, whose mental clarity fades in and out. I believe I have seen these symptoms before. If fate permits, I should like to examine her more fully and diagnose her condition. I have met with Cloud Retainer, or Shenyun as she has taken to calling herself. Although she is an adeptus, she rarely makes use of her attendant powers, preferring instead to tinker away with her mechanical devices. She explained that she seeks to create mechanisms that even ordinary mortals can use with ease. As it happened, I recalled some mechanical blueprints from Langan, so I proceeded to draw them for her. However, those mechanisms are so ancient that I'm not sure they'll be of any use in this day and age. I understand this young lady is part human, part adeptus. Most remarkable. From what Streetward Rambler has told me, it would seem that she belongs to a younger generation of adepti who have never seen war in their lifetime. And with her consummate mastery of the legal code, I also doubt she has to rely on her adeptal powers to gain wisdom. I still remember a few examples of case law from ancient times. I'll have to write them down in the coming days and ask Streetward Rambler to pass them on to her. I hope she'll like them. I've heard there was a time when the Yakshas, led by Morax, cleansed evil from all corners of the land. They performed many outstanding military feats in the process, but it came at the cost of a karmic debt, which tormented them. Today, only General Elatus remains. I wonder if his karmic debt still troubles him. Perhaps there is some way in which I could help? What? Someone has already healed him? I see. Very good. I'm glad he's at peace. A disciple of Streetward Rambler, if I'm not mistaken. She possesses commendable strength and spirit for a mere mortal. Cloud Retainer has taken on several disciples as well, yes? It is good to have successors. I wonder why I have never heard Mountain Shaper or Moon Carver display any interest in taking on disciples. Could it be that they haven't found any suitable candidates? Or perhaps they're too busy trotting off to enjoy themselves to think about such matters. Each of the adepti is so mystifying in their own unique way. Lanyan must surely be a descendant of Windreader. I recall that Windreader traveled with the jade-plumed Silverwing for a time, creating quite an enchanting tale. I'm sure both of them would be delighted to know how very wise and capable their latter-day descendants have turned out. I am well apprised of Director Hu's heroic act. facing death alone to protect the lives of others. Her courage and determination make her a worthy successor to the Wuwang Kid's legacy. It is most fortunate indeed that, thanks to your help, Director Hu did not end up like the lone butterfly of the Crimson Flame. Never mind that. No sense dwelling on what is past and gone. The three Moon Sisters. Well, I understand that they had a very close relationship. When one of them did not feel like being on duty, she would beg another to take her place, then make it up to her later with gifts of makeup and jewelry. However, so liberal were they with this ad hoc shift-swapping business that it sometimes led to chaos. For instance, there was once a year when all three moons aligned, but this only happened because they all got the timing mixed up. And so there came a day on which only one moon should have been on duty, but all three appeared in the sky at once. They hurried to line up in a row, 2 moons, trying their best to hide behind the one who was supposed to be on duty. But alas, they still gave the poor people down below a most terrible fright. They burned incense for several days straight. After that incident, the sisters asked me to try to convey to the people of the world that the sight of 3 moons together in the sky was not an omen of impending disaster, nor a sign that regime change was nigh. Naturally, I put the question back to them, inquiring what such a phenomenon should represent to humanity. They hemmed and hawed for a while before finally saying, It means a festival is coming, and everyone should eat full moon cakes, and stuff." The Liyue of today is a vastly different place from the land I once knew. Even the name Liyue did not exist back then. Many moons have passed and many tides have turned since that age, and everything I remember is now long gone. Poets like to say that time flies like a white steed. And curiously enough, my third deadly self was known as the White Horse Adeptus. Perhaps this is karma at work. You'd like to hear more about my past? Very well. One more person knowing the truth can only be a good thing. Long ago, I descended from the heavens to Langan to act as an envoy, guiding the people of that nation towards a peaceful future. The people of Langan called me the god of soil and grain, believing that I blessed their nation with favorable weather and bountiful harvests. I indeed had some influence over the weather, but the bountiful harvests were entirely due to the hard work of the nation's people. How did I guide Langan? Not with any grandeur or majesty, that's for sure. Save for a few interventions to divine the future, ward off evil, and prevent disasters, I spent the majority of my time as a teacher. I taught children how to read and write, do arithmetic, and play music. In my spare time, I compiled and edited texts on matters of etiquette, music, and the like. In my view, the most important thing to focus on when guiding a nation into the future is the education of the heart. A people without virtue cannot build a nation that endures, however abundant their material wealth may be. Consider those from Liyue who climb the mountains in search of the adepti, motivated only by selfish gain. Even if they are lucky enough to obtain adeptal treasures, those treasures will ultimately be their undoing if their intentions are impure. Now, of course, while cultivating virtue in one's heart, one must also sharpen the blade in one's hand. As the saying goes, one ought to hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. I have always been an avid reader. Nowadays, books are the only place where I can find the home and friends that I once knew. As ever, I annotate the text whenever I find factual errors. Recently, someone noticed my annotations and spent several days tracking me down to request that I teach history at his school. He was quite insistent, but his attitude seemed sincere to me, so I acquiesced and taught the classics there for a month. The sight of those students, eager to gain knowledge, took me right back to when I taught at the school in Langan. I never imagined that I would become a teacher again today. I suppose it was meant to be. Although I spend much of my time wandering, I occasionally return to Liyue to teach classes at various schools, where I take the opportunity to correct the historical records on Langan. Back in my day, the study of history was considered a singularly important affair. After all, the mirror of the past teaches us lessons for the future. I'm sure the ancient sages would be delighted to know that someone is still curating the historical records of Langan, all these centuries later. You don't think this is very Adeptus-like of me? Well, so be it. What the Liyue harbor of today needs is not the extraordinary might of a handful of adepti, but the combined strength of its mortal populace, united. I'm sure the other adepti are quite cognizant of this fact too. In any case, my role is to be a guide, and I continue to fulfill that by being an educator. I suppose my hobby would be moon-gazing. Now that I think about it, the thought of moon-gazing in Liyue is quite an interesting one. The idioms used in literature of this day and age are most idiosyncratic. I fail to understand most of them, and trying to trace their origins is a very laborious endeavor. I suppose it will take me some time to get acquainted with a modern parlance. Have you ever tried a full moon cake? I used to share them with friends while moon gazing, but now I can't seem to find them anywhere. It's quite a pity. Ugh, raw meat is quite simply... I just think meat should be cooked through prior to consumption. Had I been able to sample such fine delicacies during my lunar exile, perhaps I would have stayed a little longer. I jest. A fine meal. I will savor it. This dish tastes rather peculiar. Innovative, even. Today is your birthday? Then we must celebrate. I recall that it is customary for the elderly to eat longevity noodles. And while you appear youthful, I suspect that if we were to count the years since your birth, you would, in fact, be older than most people in Liyue Harbor. In that sense, preparing a bowl of longevity noodles for you would not be an inappropriate gesture. Of course I know how to make them. I may have joined the celestial ranks in my time, but I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Frankly, the only reason I no longer have much of an appetite these days is probably all that time I spend in the heavens without any facility to cook. But I digress. Eating is the second most important affair in the world, so we must ensure that you enjoy a good bowl of longevity noodles before the day is through. I see. The moon waxes and wanes. The spirit returns to its dwelling. As an adeptus, I must fulfill my duty.